All right. Next up, how about the topic we're going to talk about from now until lunch, because it is that important, is the culture of Black Rock City. And now I'm just curious, whoever is doing the live stream, how many people have joined us at this point? How many people we got from the live stream? 215, and my mom and my brother. Awesome. All right. Who's ready to get into it? Into the really meat of it, yes? All right. So to kick things off, I'd like to welcome to the stage the creator and the leader of the Cultural Direction Setting Project. Of course, you've seen her a million times today, Trippy Longstocking.
So it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday after the event in 2017. And I was driving home. Let me show you the picture of me driving home. Because I took a picture. There. In a very dusty minivan. Very dusty. And I was thinking about my first year as the placement manager and everything I had seen and understood on another level because it was my first year in that role. And I was also thinking about two really big, hairy, scary, challenging topics in front of me. The first one was plug and play, turnkey, convenience camps, whatever you want to call the phenomenon. I was thinking about how since 2014, when I was a camp leader and everything exploded, how from the inside I could see how many shifts had been made till 2017. But from the outside looking in, it looked like nothing had changed. And the second big thing I was thinking about were the 70 camps that year who did not receive placement, who I had to email and correspond with and reckon with what that meant for them. And I was thinking about the popularity of placement as it has become so essentially attached to the resources to be in Black Rock City as a group. And what happens in 5 to 10 years if those dynamics shift? What happens to placement? What do we need to do? And I was thinking and trying to understand what was at the root of these things, like how do we move forward? And I started actually recording myself talking out loud in the car because I was like, ooh, this is getting good, okay? Like, I'm getting somewhere, I do this sometimes, so I can capture it later because I'm gonna be on a drive for, 7 hours. I might forget some things. So I was thinking about how despite all of this work, so much good work was happening. Everyone was trying to solve problems with really good intentions, but they were doing it in different directions. And we didn't really have a clear North Star of the Black Rock City that we wanted to have and create in the next 5 to 10 years. It was unclear. And so I started thinking about, hey, what if there was a process to get us there? It would have to be a really big process, really big. And two important pieces came to mind. The first was that it couldn't be top-down, that it couldn't be the placement team in a room deciding these things, although we are very smart cookies, it's bigger than us. It couldn't be just organization staff doing that, because culture is not created through rules, it's lived. And it had to be sincere, intense, fierce, real community engagement. And it had to be weaved throughout the entire thing. And second, I also realized that a lot of trust had been lost in the last couple of years. And that was alarming to me coming into the role, and the more I kind of saw that and realized that, I was like, what if this process could rebuild some of that trust? What if we could really hone in on that and invite people to the table to talk about these really hard things? And so Cultural Direction Setting was born in that minivan. That very sexy, dusty minivan. And the problems we're trying to solve with this project, so like I said, we need a vision to align around. We had tensions that were building and boiling over with placement within the organization, within camps, within you all, and also individual behavior. A lot of kind of the individual behavior challenges we were seeing, a lot of those are traced back to camps and a culturation that is or isn't happening. And so the objective of this whole darn thing is to align on cultural direction to shape residential Black Rock City. And when I say residential Black Rock City, I'm not talking about a cultural vision for the DPW or a cultural vision for the art on the open playa. I'm talking about us, placed camps, open camping, walk-in camping, where people live. So the idea is that clear vision, direction, policy, and communication, that can help guide all of us. So we're going to get into the process and tell you some, behind the scenes what's happened. We haven't really put a lot of this out yet, and I'm really excited to share this with you. So we started with our leaders, and then we built this visioning group. And I'm going to get into what all of this actually looked like. So I came off the playa. I think I talked to Retro and Charlie quite quickly. I was like, how do we figure this out? And so we got this group of really critical stakeholders around the table. We had Marion Goodell, Burning Man's CEO, Harley, who you met earlier, Charlie, who you met earlier, Heather White, who's the managing director of Burning Man Project, myself. Larry was with us for 2 months before he passed away, and that was really, really beautiful that he had a hand in the beginnings of this project. And I'd like to introduce Simone. Come on up. So Simone is the facilitator from this group and on, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the process. And let's actually invite our cultural direction setting folks to come to the stage as well. Please just come around.
So I need notes because I'm a new mom and no sleep, brain fried. So first of all, culture, as Trippy said, is lived. And so a process to set a direction for a new culture or for setting a direction for our culture to go where we want it to go needs amazing people. And here are some of them. We have Marisa from Thunderdome. We have Jess. I'm not going to Bravo is right behind me hiding. We have Mercedes and Retro and Zhang and Level. And you can see on this list of all in blue are all the camps. So we wanted to make sure in curating this group that it's a group that brings diverse experiences to the table, long time burners, not so crusty yet, different sizes of camps, different kinds of camps, sound camps, the different types that we have, and also representatives from the organization, from an artist, because diversity is really key, especially in culture. So what we did, I know this part. So first we convened the first time all in person on Playa last year, and we went out and we did some field trips. We visited 20 different camps that we personally were less familiar with, and we also visited open camping. And that was really to kind of start opening our own minds and our own experiences up. Community engagement, I'm not going to read this all out, but you can see we crafted this to have different entry points. Some people like to write more. Some people like to talk more. In a survey, you can really get breadth of experience. In interviews that we did, 65 of, you can get more into depth and ask people why. So why do you think that? And it was really, really insightful for us and quite transformative, actually. And then we also created a community conversations toolkit that we shared on the web, and 20 people picked it up from really, all over the world and hosted those. And then we digested the notes. And obviously there's also lots and lots of online responses that we try to digest, at least what came in October and November. So you may think, what did you guys do with 5,000 survey responses? And they had like 65 questions. We spent...
How many of you read this? How many of you took the survey?
Yeah.
We read your shit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We literally spent a whole weekend reading as much as we could. We took samples from the beginning, from the end, cross-sections. We read whole surveys. We split them up by questions, so we could not read every single answer, but I hope we read something from every single person. What we heard, so we came together again in another weekend, and we try to put it all together. The insights from the interviews, from the community conversations, from the surveys, and we picked out some themes. We started to see some patterns and some tensions. And this is actually, next. So,
right outside.
yeah, this is hanging right outside, so you can look at this. And Retro did a kind of an interactive thing that showed all the tensions, so we had conversations about this. And there's a link to that with a great PowerPoint. It's in one of the blog posts. So this is what we've shared so far. We shared what happened, and we shared what we heard. And you can read that if you haven't yet.
How many of you have read the What We Heard? You guys are great.
You're amazing. We love you. Thank you.
So I also just wanted to connect this to Marion's cultural course correcting blog that came out a little over a month ago. How many of you read that one? If your hand's not up, you're under a rock. So cultural course correcting is really about what the organization is doing right now, the actions that we can take right now around our culture, whereas cultural direction setting is about that 5 to 10 year vision. And with that, what we're aiming for is a clear, actionable, aspirational vision. It's really, if you've done vision work, it's really hard to nail all those things, but we are going to try. So I want to tell you the objectives of this work. And we're going to talk about some of it in detail. We're going to frame it as themes later because it's a little easier to digest, but these are actually the objectives of the vision, what we want to hit in that vision. The first one is, why does Burning Man give camps resources? And what does Burning Man expect of groups when we give those resources? The second one is the flip of that. What do camps expect and need from the organization to fulfill this vision and your visions? How does Burning Man treat, support, interact with camps? And will Burning Man support some camps more or differently from others, and if so, why? The third, how does our residential Black Rock City vision fit within Burning Man Project, the organization's vision, mission, and operational needs? How does global citizenship fit into Black Rock City? And how does theme camp work in the world impact residential Black Rock City and vice versa? These are really meaty questions, eh? Number 4, where is the line? Where is the line for giving resources? For how much of the city do we place? And why do we not place camps? Where's the line when we don't place camps? And finally, the mother of them all, what is our vision for residential Black Rock City in 5 to 10 years? And as we're considering that, we're thinking about what the mid and long-term cultural impacts of that would look like. And this is where we hope to pull in that aspirational. What do you guys think of those questions? Yeah, that's what's up right now. That's what's up right now. So just a quick overview, now that you know what we did, we got the leadership together. We formed this wonderful visioning group. We did our community engagement, and we're working on the vision, which you are about to hear some of the draft forms of so that we can get your feedback on it. We've been looping back with our leadership all along the way and doing as much external communication as we can muster. And the thing that's important to say is that for 2019, we're going to get this vision out as soon as we can, but realistically, that's like spring, early summer, right? And by then, we're not going to upend the placement questionnaire you guys just filled out. We're not going to go back and institute new policy in the middle of when you're really heads down doing the work. So for 2019, it's on you. We're going to put that vision out there, and I don't expect everyone to love everything. As we saw in the survey, there's a lot of tension in the perspectives. And so we're not going to make everyone happy, but we hope we can set a course, set that North Star in a direction that's going to be overall in line with most of us and for what we want to see. But I hope that the parts that you do like in the vision, the parts that you're like that in 2019 you take that and you and your camp get together and you say, how can we make that more real in our camp? That's how culture is created, right? So that's what we're going to look at to you all in 2019 to do. And then for 2020, now we can come the organization back around and do that, pretty hefty work of re-engineering and operationalizing the policies that you all rely on in order to have that roll out in 2020. So our goal is, yes, this is a 5 to 10 year vision of where we want to go, but we want to take steps in these next 2 years to make that as real as we possibly can and let that unveil and evolve. It's going to change, and that's beautiful and good. So with that, I want to make a really big disclaimer. everything we're saying here is a rough draft. Rough. Very, very rough. And that was kind of a bit of a nerve-wracking thing. I mean, this was in my vision the whole time. I think in the minivan this came up even, like Theme Camp Symposium. We're going to come up and we're going to say some stuff, and it's not going to be perfect. Because we want your feedback. We really do. And so this, Retro pointed out, Rough Draft, this is a newsletter from the Cacophony Society from 1990 telling folks about a zone trip to a bad day at Black Rock, which was the first Burning Man in the Nevada desert. So we're going to do that rough draft style, and
So you saw some of these questions are really difficult and hard questions. And there were a lot of opinions. Some of the answers were pretty clear, and still there's a lot of nuance to drill down, you know? So we think we found some clues for some of the questions, but we really need your help. So remember, this is a rough draft. Let's say it's all together. Rough draft. Thank you.
we are living dangerously, folks. So we're going to kick it off, and we're going to have groups come up and present. We've had basically divided and conquered in our group some of these themes for you to digest. So we're going to start with Zhang and Level talking about needs and expectations of theme camps. Do we have a second mic? We can grab that one. Oh, great. Thank you. Here you go.
Cool. Hello. All right, here we go. So we have not rehearsed this. We're gonna walk through it, and we're gonna see how we do. Yeah. All right, right on. Rough draft, baby. Okay. All right. So expectations of theme camps. By the way, I just want to make a disclaimer. Poor Level here is like just been promoted to God. And so I'm going to be speaking in the voice of, quote, the org. And we're going to talk about like expectations of theme camps. And this is what we have seen and where we see the vision going forward. I want to emphasize vision, right? This is what we see what's going on. So what we've heard is there's really a clear agreement about what a theme camp is, what they contribute to BRC, and why Burning Man should give resources to those burning camps. No mystery on this thing. We've been talking about this all morning, right? Go. All right, right on. So, all right. So, minimum bar of interactivity, right? That's kind of been the way that the discussion has been built around interactivity and are you meeting that minimum bar? So, we get to a key phrase. Placement would like to be more selective and curate camps, which means potentially placing fewer camps. Nice. Right? That, by the way, that mixed like reaction right there is exactly spot on. As everybody goes, that doesn't mean me, does it? Surely not me. And then also like, yeah, those guys over there are dicks. Okay. Criteria TBD and may vary, evolve in each year. So that's really, rough draft, right? All right, cool. We got. All right. So, yeah, a lot of cultural homogeneity, right? Who wants to see yet another bar? Yeah. Yeah, no. Right. So there's a whole bunch of like, let's just do the minimum thing and just get our camp on Playa and score some DGS and get into placement. And you know what? By the way, everybody else notices that happening. Like we read your shit. All right, right on. All right. Da, 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 da. So yeah, here we go. This is actually from one of our interviews. Placement has to be willing to curate. Now, this is interesting. This is and remember, I'm a theme camp lead. I'm not part of placement, but I think that this is a different role for placement. Placement hasn't been a curation mechanism. Placement has been a facilitation mechanism. They get you to your place, and everything is good and dandy if they've done that thing. So, curation. That's a change.
All right.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we had was also, what do theme camps expect out of Burning Man organization? The thing that stood the most loud and clear to us was that you want better, more timely, more quick communication about how you're doing, about what you're doing. And we also recognize that there's going to be some need for greater resource around that. The placement team right now is an 18-person team for over 1,400 camps. It is by sector up to 270 camps for 3 placers. And so there's a lot of resource involved. And I think we're also trying to manage expectations and say, hey, part of this is looking after each other and giving feedback to one another as theme camps. But overall, people want to hear more from us. Similarly, people want specific feedback and assessment specifically about the placement process. Unplaced camps want to know, why didn't I get placed? They also want a path towards getting placed in the future. And new camps want to know how to do it right. We get questions all the time saying, you know, I am splitting off from this camp, or I'm coming to Burning Man for the first time, or I'm looking at your website and I don't know what it means because it's not good enough. So there's definitely a lot of good feedback there. And finally, camps want to know their neighbors when they arrive. And so, all right, okay. Some people like that idea. People want to know where they're placed. People want to know early. They want to share resources with each other. I think they feel fumbled or kind of unnecessarily blocked or disabled by figuring out in late June or July where they go, but having no clue of who's right next door to them. So part of the vision is to get more information, to timelier, get more specific information. In one interview, he said, good communication, keep us in the loop. Please continue to answer direct questions as quickly and as well as you can. Sometimes an unanswered question keeps the camp in suspended animation. No. Suspended planning.
You had to do it.
Yeah. All right, so that's our part.
Just tap.
Just tap.
Just
on
tap,
the right?
scowl at it, and then tap it again.
Okay.
So you've got your microphone, I've got mine, and you're going to run the slides.
Yes, I am.
So our, well, you start the
I'm
presentation,
sorry.
actually.
Okay. So, hi.
Marisa.
I'm Marisa. And your survey answers were hilarious. I wish I could have put more in here. This is just one of the many. For every opinion on one side, there was an opinion on another side. We're canceling theme camps. Oh, is that not? It's not what's happening? Okay. So we were part of the where's the line in terms of several things. Resources, where we'll start. Sorry, it's hard to. First of all, we, as cultural direction setting, support the 2019 theme camp criteria changes that were outlined earlier in the plenary session. We just want to say that flat out. And access to resources will be limited to interactive camp offerings. So when we talk about resources, we're referring to work access passes, directed group sales, placement, and outside services. And when we talk about interactivity, we're talking about the interactivity or engaging offerings that the camp offers to the entire Black Rock community, not just its own camp members.
So that was our short-term and our long-term vision. One more. We would like camps to work together to pool resources, finding economies of scale. We would hope to support these efforts by offering neighborhood information earlier. So how much of the placement, how much of the city do we place is the next section. Examine whether reserve versus open camping is in the correct relative proportion. Have we taken into account that camping style of participants continues to move towards larger shelters, moving from tents to RVs? There was a lot of land grabbing and open camping in 2018. Should we increase available open camping? Sure. And the long-term version?
I don't know, it's going to tell me we have 2 minutes. Just tap it.
I just keep tapping. I've never seen a tablet before. It's not true.
We're almost there.
That's where we're supposed to be. We're back.
Woo! That was exciting. All right. Once our BLM permit allows us growth, that will happen proportionally. The city will increase proportionally. So this means not just adding ringed streets to the end, but also increasing the Esplanade area around the man. And we also propose block or area hosts. So open camping is often a free-for-all. Theme camping is laid out very accurately and placed, but open camping is free-for-all. You've heard land grabbing mentioned. Anecdotally, I think it was by 1 a.m. after gate opened that all open camping was gone. So we propose, on the 9 o'clock side, thank you. So we propose block hosts. These are people who are in open camping who, perhaps with DGS as an incentive, are responsible for ensuring that there's no land grabbing.
And Marisa is going to talk about where's the line for not placing camps.
Okay. Consent and safety are critical. So camps that contribute to the non-consensual harmful environment for people within Black Rock City are not welcome. This includes both psychological well-being and physical safety.
I just want to point out right now that there is no irony in the cultural direction setting person talking about safety is from Death Guild Thunderdome.
I said consensual. Placers know what they are doing, and we need to entrust them and empower them to have final say when they know that somebody should not be invited back. They are intimately familiar with the city. We should trust them. And I'm being told I'm done. And assuming good intentions on all sides. So just assume that the person that you think is misbehaving maybe not yet acculturated. And Hanlon's razor says, never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity.
So here's our long-term vision. We got a lot of support from for the 10 principles in our survey work. Camps who can't demonstrate how they uphold the 10 principles risk not being placed. Hey, what if we had a post-event interactivity map like the MOOC map? And a final thought, we hope we don't have to not place camps. No one is rejected because all the questionnaires requesting placement represent the principles, and no one is applying just to get access to DGS.
Who's next? Global citizenship?
Okay. I'm going to tap. I've got the power. So we wrestled with the global citizenship question, and as we kept unearthing it, there's a lot of juice there. There is a lot of division, and it's almost equal. It's almost 1/3 says yes, 1/3 says no, and 1/3 says maybe. So what we wanted to do first was to put global citizenship in context, because that, even as a term, seems to be, not the exact term, maybe a global citizen embodying the 10 principles, something like that. We're wrestling with what that should be. So we wanted to just go over the Burning Man Project's mission, just to kind of give the context. So the mission of the Burning Man Project is to facilitate and extend the culture that is issued from the Burning Man event into the larger world. So just to give a context, what do we mean by this? Who are these people? This is a sort of subjective list of people. These are also people who I hope are in the room. I put some of these up here intentionally, but there are the U.S. mayors that came out to Black Rock. There are amazing projects that have happened out in the world. This huge, amazing blue whale that was out at Crissy Field. The YES Project, which was a spaceship that was created by Hunters Point kids and Dana Albany. There was Burners Without Borders that started as this collective group of people going down to Katrina just to help because we had the ability to, and it's manifested in this larger project in the world. There are art projects that go out, like David Best's temple. So not only was this temple built in Derry, but some of these builders actually also came out to Black Rock City. There's also Burning Wish, you know, the experience of a Black Rock citizen that has been out there for years, bringing his experience of going through cancer and bringing those amazing people out to the playa. So this is and wait, one more, Paradise Fire, which is, I think, another example of quick manifestation of people bringing out refrigeration units, RVs, and also Burners Without Borders coming out with a larger experience of help. So this is global citizenship. We wanted to kind of put it in context for you. And here it is. It is so evenly divided. So this is one of the questions. This is the pie graph that we got from it. Here's yes, here's no, here's maybe. But even within those, there's so much nuance. Like, yes, reward our cultural ambassadors. Yes, camp should be the embodiment of the principles and the lifestyle, not a week-long activity. No, you can't expect Burning Man to be a full-time job. No, I don't believe in missionary work. This is actually important. A lot of people don't like that feeling of missionary work. So how do we talk about global citizenship without it feeling like this dogmatic missionary work? And maybe, consider it extra credit. Maybe Burning Man culture isn't the end goal of this. So, this is what we're really wrestling with. These are the questions. This is what we want feedback on. This is what we want you to give us lots of feedback about and tell us what you feel about. So what do you think we all could do to encourage what we want to see more of at BRC and in the world? And what role should placement, residential Black Rock City play or not play in this? And that's where we landed. Thank you. Yeah, we're done. Yes, we're done. Someone has to close us out. Redefining luxury. Yeah.
All right. No. Bravo's in on this one as well. And I just want to say, this is the topic that I thought was going to be like the hot button topic of the day. And the Bureau of Land Management was like, I got this. So a big shout out to you. Thank you.
Yeah, so who wants to talk about plug and play camps? Actually, lots of you did. There was lots of feedback, concern, and anger in the surveys that we read and the interviews that we did. It's by far one of the top things that we saw, and it's absolutely clear plug and play camps is something that the community does not like. Absolutely does not like and wants to see something happen to it. So you have to ask yourself, what is a plug and play camp? When you ask that question, you get lots of answers, and they're never quite the same. Everybody has their own idea of what a plug and play camp is. If I said, raise your hand if you're a plug and play camp, how many people out there would raise their hand? All right, I got one person back there. Most people won't, because most camps, even if we consider them a plug and play camp, don't self-identify as plug and play camps. So what do we do about that? So the plug and play camp is really just a generalization of what we feel are camps that are violating the 10 principles and are possibly eroding the values that we have as our community. Oftentimes they're pointed towards camps that have wealth or appear to have influence maybe with the org or out somewhere else. But really what it boils down to is all of our camps, whether it's a plug and play camp or a theme camp, is built up of a bunch of different behaviors that we have as camps, that we build upon those 10 principles that we bring to Burning Man. These behaviors are often good, and they should be good. Sometimes they're not so good, sometimes they're really bad. So how do we define those behaviors? We look at this, and as we've been talking about this through our cultural direction setting, we're asking ourselves, what are these behaviors? Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're obnoxious, and sometimes they're toxic. It's absolutely clear that a toxic behavior, something like, I'm selling a package to go to Burning Man, that's toxic. That's not helping to deliver what we're trying to do as a community, and it's hurting things. But what about other things? For example, my camp, we rent a porta potty. Is that bad? Your camp might rent a luxury bathroom. Is that bad? So what's obnoxious? What's toxic? Your camp might do the chicken dance at 7 a.m. in the morning. That's definitely obnoxious. May not be toxic, right? So what we have to do is get down and kind of define these behaviors. We want to think about camps as camps and look at these behaviors. But how do we do that? How do we find these things that determine what's right and wrong, and how do we handle these? It's a tough question. It's something we've definitely been dealing with. So Zhang here, he's got all the answers, and he's going to explain it to us right now. Take it away, Zhang.
Thanks. Oh, God. Okay, so, all right. So one of the things that when we're looking at this is it seems like immediately plug and play is like, oh, everybody knows exactly what that is. And turns out, not exactly, right? Because then 15 minutes later, everybody's having an impassioned debate about what is and is not, what does and does not contribute to it, right? So it's like, everybody's like, bang, RV wall, definitely plug and play. Or they built a windbreak, and, you know, right? So we found ourselves talking about like a set of behaviors and the degree of that behavior, and some of these things, you know, it goes from actually completely awesome to, yeah, no, this is maybe not so great, and you're getting into the red zone here, and plain old, nope, now, can we say adult words here? You have fucked up, right? Okay, so, and this is kind of how we're structuring the conversation right now, right? So it's like, you know, who here has a back of house? Right, kind of your private area for people to sit down and chill, right? A lot of you, right? There's a difference between the back of house and the VIP area, right? And we all kind of know what that thing is. And you go from obnoxious into toxic. Okay, let's look at what do we got next. Give me a tab. Give me another tab. Okay, so first of all, there's some new language around this thing. Plug and play is a thing, a piece of language that sprung up around, you know, selling packages, and you can just plug and play, and then we're done. But the problem is bigger than that. It's made up of a bunch of kind of root behaviors. So what we found is that consumerism is really kind of better defines what we're talking about, and then we want to dig into the things that build up into consumerism and contribute to that. So here's where we're going with this. First of all, a transition into intervention, only as much as necessary. So intervention means, so we're no longer going to just talk rhetorically about it and encourage good behavior and frown upon bad behavior, but there are going to be consequences, okay? But only as much as necessary, which brings us to point number 2, which is, out of, you know, all of you, how many of you looking, what are the zealously enforced policies that you're looking forward to being held to? Nervous laughter, I love it. That's just great. That's exactly what I thought. It's like everybody's going, none, we're not the problem. It's those guys. Yeah. But for real, like, it's going to apply, and then you have to think, you imagine what's it going to look like to be held to those standards? Are people going to be coming by and inspecting your interactivity? And it's like, if you expect those guys to be, you know, inspected, then you're going to, see how this goes. All right. So, and then ultimately it comes down to this. Acculturation is a thing that we've been talking about a lot over the last several years, and it still remains the opposite of this consumer behavior, right? So, and we are the beginning of all of that. And we instill the values into the souls of the people who come and camp with us, and they become the soul of Black Rock City. And that is the end game. That is what we want to see happen.
Okay. I have one more thing to add. Because of the surveys, you know, there was lots of concern and anger. And the one thing you find is when you have anger, the discussion typically stops. So it's one thing with this. You see something, you label it plug and play. Keep the anger away, look at the behaviors, have those discussions. I had an interview with somebody that was from a potential plug-and-play camp. And I was a bit concerned about this going into it because, geez, plug and play, blah, blah, blah. And when I talked to this person, I found that they, in this specific case, were trying to meet the values, but they had a skewed view of what it was. So they were implementing it in a way that didn't make sense to really Burning Man, but they thought they were doing it right. So having these conversations, and even if it's a neighbor camp that's next to you that says, they look like a plug and play, I'm not going to go talk to them, go have that conversation. Keep the anger out of it. Talk about those behaviors. And hopefully part of what we're trying to do with these camps, well, is to educate them. So keep that in mind.
So that was our rough draft of the vision. And I want to tell you about the road ahead literally this weekend and beyond. So we want you to tell us what you think. We have 2 breakout sessions this weekend. One is right after lunch in this room. It will be live streamed, so we can also take comments from folks online. And we also have one tomorrow morning. So we just presented. We're not taking questions now because literally the breakout sessions is all you talking to us. We're going to be taking a lot of notes. And we have put up different posters made by Zhang's campmates, Power Slouch and Majestic. And they made these wonderful butcher paper signs for those 4 themes. So if you're not someone who likes to get up in front of a microphone and talk in front of a bunch of people, you can write your comments on these different ones. There's one for expectations, one for where's the line, one for global citizenship, and one for redefining plug and play. So write your stuff down. And then Sunday afternoon, we're going to come back and we're going to share what the major themes were. So there's a lot of great breakout content. If you're like, I'm good, I trust my people to say the things that they need to say, then you'll hear kind of a roundup at the end of what came up. And we'll also be publishing a roundup in the Burning Man Journal. And then after that, hey, there we go, blog in the Burning Man Journal. A vision for you to try on for Black Rock City 2019 and 2020 operationalization of that vision. So that's where we're going. Thank you for listening to our amazing team who've been working their butts off. I'm really, really proud.